Welcome back to the Daily Crypto Deep Dive. This is part 2 of our series on artificial intelligence, money, and the future of crypto. In part 1, we looked at the first major shock. What happens when AI starts doing jobs for almost nothing? We talked about cheaper labor, weaker wages, lower costs for digital services, and the pressure that could put on governments, debt, and fiat money. Today, we take the next step. Because once you understand that AI could make work cheaper, digital services cheaper, and content almost unlimited, the next question becomes obvious. What still holds value in a world where more and more things can be created instantly? That is where Bitcoin enters the conversation. And this episode is not just about Bitcoin going up or down this week. It is not just about a price chart, an ETF flow, a Federal Reserve speech, or another short-term market move. This is about Bitcoin's deeper role in a world where artificial intelligence could make abundance normal. Because if AI makes more things easy to produce, easy to copy, and easy to automate, then scarcity becomes more important, not less. So today, we're going to take this step by step. First, we'll quickly remind ourselves what AI does to the economy. Then we'll look at why abundance changes how people think about value. After that, we'll move into Bitcoin's fixed supply, why 21 million matters, why fiat money may come under even more pressure, and why Bitcoin could become one of the cleanest stores of value in an AI-driven world. Then, at the end, we'll set up part 3, where we look at what this means for altcoins. Before we get into it, if you're building your crypto portfolio, you can check out Kraken using the link in the description. And remember, we're giving away 20 XRP to listeners who sign up through the Kraken link and get involved with the show. Also, if you are holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, or any serious crypto for the long term, make sure you are thinking about security. A Ledger hardware wallet link is also in the description. Now let's get into the real argument. In part 1, the key idea was this. AI makes labor cheaper. If artificial intelligence can write, code, design, analyze, research, edit, answer customers, manage admin, and eventually make business decisions, then the cost of producing digital work falls dramatically. That is powerful. It can make businesses more productive. It can make services cheaper. It can create a world where one person can do the work of a whole team. But it also creates a problem. If more work can be automated, human wages may come under pressure. If wages come under pressure, governments may be forced to support people with welfare, subsidies, tax credits, universal basic income, or some new version of state-backed income support. And if governments spend more while already carrying massive debt, then fiat money comes under even more pressure. That is the bridge into Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is not just another digital product. It is not another app. It is not another website. It is not another AI-generated service. Bitcoin is valuable because it is digitally scarce. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That is the whole point. No government can vote to create another 10 million Bitcoin. No central bank can print more Bitcoin to fund a crisis. No company can issue extra Bitcoin because shareholders want more growth. No AI model can generate more real Bitcoin by pressing a button. That matters more in an AI economy, because AI pushes the world toward abundance. More content, more images, more videos, more code, more bots, more websites, more automated services, more synthetic media, more digital output than human beings can ever properly consume. And when something becomes abundant, its value usually falls. This is already happening. A basic blog post used to have value. A basic logo used to have value. A basic social media caption used to have value. A basic video edit used to have value. But as AI improves, basic digital production gets cheaper and cheaper. That does not mean quality disappears. The best creators, best brands, best thinkers, and best operators will still matter. But average digital output becomes less scarce. And this is the key turning point of the episode. When abundance floods the system, people start searching for what is scarce. That is why Bitcoin becomes more interesting in an AI world, not less. Bitcoin is not competing with AI-generated content. Bitcoin is not trying to be another digital service. Bitcoin is the opposite side of the trade. AI represents unlimited production. Bitcoin represents fixed supply. One is abundance, the other is scarcity. And that contrast could become one of the most important financial ideas of the next 20 years. Think about what people will want if AI keeps advancing. They will want productivity, yes. They will want cheaper tools, yes. They will want faster services, yes. But when it comes to savings, wealth, and long-term security, they will want something that cannot be diluted. Because if your job is under pressure, your wages are under pressure, and your currency is under pressure, then the question becomes very simple. Where do you store the value of your work? Fiat currencies are useful for spending. Pounds, dollars, and euros are still the money people use day to day. But they are not fixed in supply. Governments borrow. Central banks intervene. Financial systems create credit. In every major crisis, the pressure is nearly always the same. Print, borrow, support, stimulate, rescue, repeat. Now add AI disruption into that system. If millions of jobs are weakened, governments may need to spend more. If inequality rises, governments may need to redistribute more. If tax revenue from human wages gets weaker, governments may need to find new sources of funding. And if they cannot balance the system through taxation alone, then debt and money creation become even more tempting. This is why Bitcoin's fixed supply becomes so important. It is not just a technical feature. It is the monetary policy. Bitcoin does not care about the election cycle. It does not care about unemployment numbers. It does not care about government debt. It does not care about central bank pressure. It does not care whether politicians need to promise more spending. The supply schedule is fixed. That does not mean the Bitcoin price only goes up. It does not mean Bitcoin is risk-free. It does not mean there will not be crashes, bear markets, brutal corrections, regulation, fear, or volatility. Bitcoin can still fall hard. We have seen that many times. But the long-term argument is not that Bitcoin avoids volatility. The long-term argument is that Bitcoin avoids dilution. That is the difference. Fiat money may feel stable day to day, but it can be diluted over time. Bitcoin may feel volatile day to day, but its supply cannot be inflated away. And in an AI economy, where more digital things become infinite, that kind of scarcity may become even more valuable. There is another layer as well. AI could make surveillance and control much more powerful. Governments and large institutions could use AI to monitor payments, detect behavior, score risk, control fraud, manage taxation, and enforce financial rules. Some of that may be useful. Some of it may reduce crime. Some of it may make systems more efficient. But it also raises a serious question about financial freedom. If we move into a world of central bank digital currencies, automated tax systems, AI-driven banking controls, and algorithmic financial surveillance, people may want an asset that exists outside the normal system. That does not mean everyone becomes anti-government. It means people may want optionality. They may want a reserve asset that is not controlled by one country, one central bank, one company, or one AI system. Bitcoin fits that role better than almost anything else in crypto. It is global. It is liquid. It is simple compared with most crypto assets. It has the strongest brand. It has the clearest monetary story. It has the largest institutional recognition. And most importantly, it does not need to promise 1,000 different things. Bitcoin's pitch is brutally simple. Fixed supply, decentralized settlement, hard money for the digital age. That simplicity matters. Because in an AI world, complexity will be everywhere. There will be endless tokens, endless platforms, endless AI agents, endless apps, endless synthetic content, endless new narratives, and endless hype cycles. Bitcoin stands apart because it does not need to be the fastest app chain, the smartest AI network, or the most complicated financial product. It simply needs to remain scarce, secure, recognizable, and trusted. And that is why Bitcoin could become the base layer of crypto wealth in the AI age. Not because it will replace every currency overnight. Not because every person will suddenly abandon banks. Not because governments will give up control, but because as the world becomes more automated, more digital, and more uncertain, people will want a form of savings that cannot be casually expanded. That is the emotional side of the Bitcoin argument too. If AI makes workers feel less secure, Bitcoin becomes more than a trade. It becomes insurance against a system where the rules keep changing. If governments respond to AI disruption with more debt, Bitcoin becomes insurance against currency debasement. If digital content becomes infinite, Bitcoin becomes a reminder that not everything digital has to be infinite. And if financial surveillance grows, Bitcoin becomes an asset outside the fully controlled rails. This is why the AI story and the Bitcoin story fit together so well. AI asks, what happens when work becomes cheap? Bitcoin answers, value needs somewhere scarce to go. AI asks, what happens when digital output becomes infinite? Bitcoin answers, digital scarcity becomes more important. AI asks, what happens when governments need to spend more? Bitcoin answers, fixed supply matters. AI asks, what happens when people lose trust in wages, fiat, and institutions? Bitcoin answers, hold something that cannot be printed. That is the heart of Part 2. Bitcoin may be one of the biggest beneficiaries of an AI-driven economy because it is the opposite of what AI creates. AI creates more. Bitcoin stays limited. AI accelerates production. Bitcoin slows down monetary expansion to a fixed schedule. AI makes digital goods abundant. Bitcoin makes digital scarcity real. And that is why, over the long term, Bitcoin's value proposition may become easier for people to understand. Years ago, people struggled with the idea of digital scarcity. They would say, how can something digital be scarce? Can't you just copy it? But in a world flooded with AI-generated everything, the difference between copied digital output and real digital scarcity becomes much clearer. People will see the contrast. An AI image can be copied. A Bitcoin cannot be duplicated. An AI article can be generated instantly. A Bitcoin cannot be printed instantly. An AI voice can be cloned. A Bitcoin transaction cannot fake the supply cap. An AI business can produce more content. Bitcoin cannot produce more than 21 million coins. That clarity could be powerful. Now, this does not mean Bitcoin is the only winner. It does not mean altcoins are dead. It does not mean Ethereum, Solana, XRP, or other major networks have no role. But it does mean Bitcoin probably remains the foundation. In an AI economy, Bitcoin is the cleanest scarcity trade. Altcoins have to prove something different. They have to prove utility, revenue, adoption, speed, liquidity, token value capture, and real demand. And that is exactly where Part 3 is going. Because if Bitcoin is the scarce digital money of the AI age, what happens to altcoins? Do they benefit from AI because they power new financial systems, AI agents, tokenized assets, payments, and decentralized infrastructure? Or do many of them get crushed because AI makes digital products too easy to create and most tokens become just another form of abundance? That is the next question. Part 1 was about AI breaking the old value of work. Part 2 is about Bitcoin becoming the scarce digital response. Part 3 will be about altcoins. Which ones could survive? Which ones could thrive? And which ones could get exposed when the market starts separating real utility from hype? So the big takeaway today is simple. AI may make more things cheaper. It may make work more automated. It may put pressure on wages. It may force governments to spend more. And it may flood the world with digital abundance. But in that kind of world, Bitcoin becomes more important because Bitcoin is not abundant. It is fixed. It is scarce. It is global. And it cannot be printed for political convenience. That does not remove the risk. Bitcoin will still be volatile. It will still have brutal drawdowns. It will still be attacked. It will still be misunderstood. But the deeper the AI economy gets, the stronger the long-term Bitcoin argument may become. Because when almost everything digital can be created for nothing, the digital thing that cannot be created for nothing becomes much more interesting. That is Bitcoin's role in the AI economy. Not just a coin, not just a chart, not just a trade, but a scarce asset in a world drowning in abundance. Thank you very much for listening. Like and follow, and we will see you at the top.